for years, I saw that the fiat money system was not going to last. Like all fiat currencies die, they all die. And the US dollar is not special. It's backed by military force, and it's not, it doesn't have intrinsic value like that. There is no intrinsic value in the dollar. So I knew that the dollar was going to crash eventually. It was going to come way down. And I was a little bit ahead, like I was thinking a little bit ahead, because I thought it was going to happen in the mid like 2015, 16, 17, something like that. But it's still hanging on, and it's still maintaining some value. But that was the initial thing. I could see that there was something that was needed. It wasn't a government currency, and Bitcoin came along, and it was like, it's decentralized. That was the main thing that I was like, wow, it's totally decentralized. There isn't a Bitcoin CEO. There isn't a Bitcoin, there's not a Bitcoin founder that someone could contact. There's no way to bring down Bitcoin itself. Like you can't just do, and I thought that was just so awesome. And so when I started, I had no money. I literally had no money, and I'm not lying. I'm not like exaggerating about that. Like but I had enough to I got a little bit of money over the holidays, Christmas, and it was a gift, and I was like, well, I got $300. I'm going to put it into Bitcoin. And I was in my head, I was like, I'm prepared that this $300 is gone. Like in my mind, it's gone. I'm putting it into Bitcoin. It's essentially just gone. And I didn't think that it would go up in value. I just thought, I'm probably going to lose it, but I did think that it's safer in the long run because it's not in the dollar. And I'm like, I want to get out of the dollar. I want to get into something that's decentralized. So I started doing that. And then every month, if I had $100, I would just put it into Bitcoin. I was just like little by little, and it was going up, and it was like, wow, this is actually going up. And so all of the gains, all of these big moves and stuff have always been really surprising to me. Like I'm never prepared. I'm a terrible like day trader or short-term investor. I have no idea where anything is going. Like people will ask me often, like, where do you think it's going? Where do you think Bitcoin's going? And I always say I have no idea, because if I start to take guesses, I'm almost always wrong. 80% of the time I'm wrong. So I just rather be that long-term, dollar cost average, and just keep putting a little bit in, and in the long run, it's going to be great, and that works for so many things. But for me, that's the only style of investing in Bitcoin that I do. I don't have any tricks or, trying to catch the bottom. I mean, I have no idea. Even right now, like, have we already bottomed out, or is it going to go for it? I have no clue.
Well, it's interesting to hear that. And I think that's such a healthy perspective, because no one really knows. I mean, people speculate all the time. The smartest people recognize that no one knows, just like no one knows what's going to happen with the stock market. No one knows. Some people may guess it right, but those people aren't going to consistently guess it right. And even when you have a track record of guessing it right for a period of time, you're going to be wrong. No one knows. And when we can keep a level head on our shoulders and say, hey, we don't know. I like your strategy, though. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm going to dollar cost average in. I'm going to start with $300, and then every extra $100 I have, I put in. And that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but over time in a growing asset, that it definitely can be. And the idea here isn't to take, like, I know some people, is a very small percentage, but I know some people that kind of did all right, I'm all in. This is Texas Hold'em style. I'm pushing all my chips in. It's a very, very small percentage of my friends that did that. And by the way, they're reaping the rewards of having done that. Most of the people that I know that did this, they made some calculated move at some point in time. They weren't sure if it was, no one really knew. They were hopeful that maybe it went up and this was good. But I think the purists would say, hey, I believe in the ideology of having a decentralized currency. I think that's better for the long run. And if I'm in this long term, then it really doesn't matter what the highs and lows are, because I'm playing the long game. And if I look at it from a long game standpoint, every dollar in, every dollar out, this is just a dollar cost average over a long period of time. And so that's something that gives me a lot of peace of mind, that I don't have to time the market. I've just found if you try and time the market, you miss, then you feel bad about it, and then you wish you would have done it differently. I've just come to the realization, in anything I'm investing in, I'm probably not going to time the market great. Can I time it well enough to like that it's long run a good decision? I can feel good about that. But that takes the pressure and stress off of like, ooh, you have to buy at this price. I just said, hey, if I believe in something long-term, whether it be real estate, Bitcoin, operating companies, you name it. If it's a long-term play, and I think the value long-term is going to be greater than the price today, then that's a buy. And I don't have to get all bent out of shape about timing, which takes so much stress out of, making these decisions.
Yeah, and it's like that Andreas Antonopoulos quote where he says, people asking me my strategy, and I say, buy on Mondays. That's it. Like, just buy on Mondays. You'll never, and always do it. You don't have to like look at the price and go, oh, it's too much. I mean, I remember when I was, this was back when I was living in LA, I was talking to this girl at a happy hour, and she's like, I really want to buy Bitcoin, but it's so high right now. And I'm like, how do you know it's high? I don't know that it's high. I don't know that it's low. I have no idea. I'm like, and it was at the time, I remember it was $5,000. And she's like, yeah, I'm just going to wait for it to go down a little bit and then I'll buy. And I'm like, okay. And then we went to the same happy hour like 2 weeks later, or whatever that was, like 2 or 3 weeks later. And I'm like, oh, did you buy? And she's like, no. I'm like, well, it doubled. Like, it went to 10, now it's 10. And I'm like, is it now? And she goes, now it's way too high. And I'm like, how do you know? How do you know it's not going to 20? I mean, you just like, so yeah, those are things, that the FOMO and the just the fear and greed thing is just, it's such a crucial thing. And I learned so much of this just being in Bitcoin and watching it, and seeing that fear greed. There's a fear greed index where you can see how much fear there is in the market, and it's that's a pretty good indicator of all indicators. I would say that is one that it's pretty accurate, where when the fear is the highest, that's when you want to buy. When it starts getting into greed, and everybody, like when, last year when everybody knew it was going to 100K, we all knew it was going to 100K. That's when you want to sell, so.
That's right. And you've got to learn to not trust your emotions on financial decisions. So this is why I talk to my mastermind all the time. With anyone in the lifestyle investor community, I say, have your investment criteria, figure it out when you're in a good place, in a good standing of sound mind, not emotionally swayed, of what decisions you want to make, what type of cash flow you want to have, what this looks like long-term. So that way, when it comes to making these investments, you can lean back on this, one-page investment criteria and say, oh, I actually said, back then that I was going to buy at, inside of this window, or I wasn't going to be swayed when the price drops and I can hold. And so I think that is just a really smart practice to put into place. And then the other thing is, we don't know what this is going to do long-term. Ideologically, I think that this is unparalleled to anything else that's out there. I think that it stands alone. Bitcoin specifically is kind of a standalone product with no rival today, and it solves a lot of problems. So to me, and again, this is not financial advice. I don't give financial advice. I just like to share some of the things that I do. But just like experts say, you should have, 1 to 2%, maybe up to 5% of your net worth in gold and silver. I feel like the same is true. Like, what if it was 0.5% or 1% or 2% of Bitcoin, where if anything goes wrong, it dies. You're not out. No one's, at that low of a percentage of net worth, no one's, losing all their stuff. But if it does take off, you've got a piece of something that's pretty big and some exposure. And this is kind of how I like to treat any of these new frontier markets, frontier industries, whether it be cannabis investing, e-commerce, any of the new trends that come in. If you pay attention to, like, where are millennials spending money? What are the spending patterns? What are the businesses? What's the technology that's going to boom? I like to be on the cutting edge of that. And I like to at least have a little bit of an allocation of my portfolio into these different things, because it doesn't take a huge amount of money to make a lot of money, especially when that investment is already coming from cash flow of assets that are basically producing passive income. Then you're not trading principal that could be earning you cash flow. You're actually using the cash flow of that investment for something that maybe you would deem a little higher risk.